So here's my philosophy on life, boiled down into two simple thoughts. The first is this: we are created as men to become kings. The second is we are created as divine beings and as children and sons of light to bring the kingdom of heaven to the earth. Two kingdoms. First, we're created to become the kings of our own kingdom. Second, we are created to learn and become sons of the King, bringing his kingdom from heaven to the earth. So I've been in pursuit of becoming a king pretty much my whole life. I remember being in high school and having the thought as I was going through the unbelievable, brutal sport of wrestling that I was a king in training. I was a king in training. So I didn't just go through the sport to become an elite wrestler. I became an elite wrestler. I was a fucking badass. Look me up. Google me. I didn't just go through the sport to get the awards and to have that success. I went through the sport and I put myself through that because I knew that I was a king in training. Then my life moved and God led me into ministry work for 5 years. And I didn't just do that to try to achieve some kind of success in ministry. I did that because I knew that I was being equipped in the spiritual realm and in the spiritual things as a king. And then I came out of that and went into a career and started a business, consulting business. And I made it very successful. I built a very successful business with the partner that I was with at that time. I made a lot of money. But I knew throughout that business that I was not just building a business to have success and accomplishments in the business realm, but that I was building a business so that I could learn and be equipped and trained to become a fucking king. The problem was, through each of those stages of my life, I was single-minded, single-focused, and did not know how to create a life that was four-dimensional. In my body, in my spirituality, in my marriage and in my family, and in my business. I could only put together one or two aspects of those at any given time. And guess which one suffered the most throughout the last 10, 15 years? My marriage, my family. As I built that consulting business, I was totally disconnected, totally out of touch, became pretty much roommates with my wife, didn't know how to be present with my kids, to connect, to do anything with them, to even have fun with them. It was a foreign concept to me because I was this single-minded, singularly focused guy. That's how I lived my whole life. That's how I became an elite athlete. That's how I dove into the ministry work with all my heart and all my soul and all my passion. That's how I built my business. But the problem was that was not truly becoming a king. See, here's a king. A king is someone who is able to put their whole life together. A whole person. A king is someone whose body is a fucking weapon to serve them. A king is someone who is connected to source. And through that connection to God, through that connection to purpose, there is utter clarity and certainty in the decisions that are being made by that king in his kingdom. A king is someone who has a marriage that's on fire, who has a queen, who has a fucking queen. Not a roommate, not someone to have sex with every so often when I have the urge and I just got to do it. Not to have kids that don't even fucking know you and aren't connected to, but to have a marriage and a family and a queen and prince and princess that's a fucking unit, an unstoppable unit. And a king is someone who knows how to produce. Who knows how to produce. Because at the end of the day, if you can have a body that is weaponized to serve you, you can have ultimate connection to God, you can have a marriage and a family that's on fire and strong, but if you don't know how to fucking produce, to create, you don't have a kingdom. So in my life, I went through these stages, training, knowing that I was being equipped for something more, but eventually I got to the point where after each stage of my life, it would burn out, I would burn out, or it would burn down. Wrestling was burnout. Ministry work was burned down and burn out, and my business was burned down. Just fucking imploded. My partnership imploded overnight because I did not know how to put all the pieces together, and all the while, my marriage was on the brink of destruction. Like truly being over, and not just over, but over with devastation. So I was a king, but I was a pauper king, a peasant king, not a real fucking king, not a real king. Eventually, in my darkest night, in my moment where I knew it was all gonna come crashing down and I was going to lose everything, God led me to find a way of life to put my kingdom in its entirety together by becoming the king that I am created to be. To put my body and my being, which is my spirituality, and my balance, which is my marriage and my family, and my business holistically together. Not just to be able to focus on one and thrive in one area or maybe even two areas of my life, but to be able to put my entire life together. To have what I desired and what I'm called and created to have, and to become who I am created to be in every aspect of my life. And what I found, this lifestyle, this set of tools, this approach to living is called the Warrior's Way. And when I found it, it was like everything in the Matrix came together. It all came into alignment. And I began to become a man and a real king. A real king. A king who is putting it together. Notice I say is putting it together. I have not arrived, but finally I'm out of training and I'm putting my life together across every aspect of my life, body, being, balance, and business. And my life is on fire and I'm thriving, and I have become a man as I have begun using these tools and living this way. I've experienced more transformation, more expansion, more becoming who I'm created to be in the last year than in the last 20 years combined. And I am not saying that falsely. That is the fucking truth. And so I'm called into this conversation with other men, and this process of leadership now with other men. Because my purpose is not just becoming the king that I'm created to be. It's not just having my kingdom that's thriving and on fire, but it is now leading and training other men to begin to build their kingdoms. See, here's the thing. If it was easy, we'd all have it and we'd all do it. But there are forces that conspire against us to shackle us, to put us in chains and in bondage, and to not allow us to become this king, to become this man that we're created to be. There are forces externally, and there are also forces within us that conspire against us. The conversation of bringing the kingdom of heaven to the earth, you can't even begin to have that conversation until you know what that means to do, to bring the kingdom into your own heart, into your own life, into your own family, into your own kingdom. It's not even a worthy discussion. Eventually, I will lead men into that conversation. Right now, the conversation I'm leading men into is a life of having a thriving body, a thriving connection to God, a thriving marriage and family, and a thriving business. A life where you can have everything, not just one thing or two things. You can have what you were created to have because you have become who you're created to become. So now that I've put the pieces together in my own life, I'm leading other men to help them put the pieces together in their life. We're not meant to go this path alone. In fact, I don't know that any one of us can become who we are created to be without other men. I don't believe it's possible. I become trained in the warrior's way. I become a certified trainer. And one thing that I've discovered in this journey along this path is no one is meant to do it alone. We need other people. We need coaches in our life. We need brothers surrounding us to walk with us, not to do it for us, not to give us the answers, but to provide a pathway. Those who have walked before, who have forged a path that can help us walk the same path. This is what I do. This is my calling, aligned with my purpose of why I'm here on this earth, to lead other men to become who they are created to be. Brother, if that's you, if now is the time in your life, you're watching this video right now for a reason. Something got you to this page. You're watching this now for a reason. Something's happening in your heart and in your life. There's a dissatisfaction. There's a calling in you to become something more. Maybe your life is burning down right now. Maybe the pain in your life is significant and severe. That's what it took in my life. It took significant, severe pain and darkness to wake me the fuck up, to do something about my life. Or maybe your life is just good, but you're still dissatisfied because you know you're called to greatness. You know you are called to something higher. You know you are created to become more than you are right now. Whatever state you're in, wherever you're at in your life, this way of life will change you. This way of life will give you the tools to become the man and the king that you are created to be across every aspect of your life. In your body, in your spirituality, your connection to God, in your marriage and with your kids, and as a fucking producer in business. What I do is I work with men, one-on-one. I work with pods, small groups of men, and I also lead events, experiential events, breakthrough events. Wherever you're at in your life, let's have a conversation. You're here for a reason. You're watching this for a reason. Something's resonating in your heart right now. Fill out the application. Click the button on this page. Fill out the application, and we'll have a conversation. We'll begin the conversation of where you're at and what you desire to become in your life, and talk about the way, the path that I've traveled that maybe you are being called to travel as well. Okay, brother, I look forward to our conversation.